Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to Authority Marketing Live. I am so excited that I get to be bringing you this amazingly fun show every week now because I get to talk to authors. And you guys know that authors are a cut above because not only are they walking the walk and talking the talk, but they actually took everything in their brain and they made it into this amazing book. And now they're bringing their wisdom and their talents right to you in the form of a book or in the form, like on your Kindle app, whatever it is. So it is my honor today to be talking to Rebecca Schauer and her book. Oh God, it resonates with me more than I want it to. Clearly, I am her ideal audience. So we are going to go deep, and I'm going to bring her on. And thank you, Sarah, for watching live. Yes, I love having live viewers. Okay, so give me 1 second here as I play around with the banners. And if anybody's ever been in the back of StreamYard, it's like so much fun. But I'm gonna add Rebecca right now. So hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So where in the world are you zooming in from?
Yeah, I'm in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Awesome. Okay. So today I want to talk about, first of all, your book, because wow. And you have a free challenge too, which we're going to talk about, which I just signed up for. So let's go back a little bit and let's talk about the name of your book and what it's about. So please go ahead.
Yeah, the name is It's Just Food, and it's for high achieving, ambitious women who are stress and emotional eaters. So it's a guide to overcome stress and emotional eating.
Guilty. Guilty.
Me too.
Really, really guilty. So, how do I overcome it? No, I'm just kidding. So, I guess what prompted you to write this book in the first place?
Well, that is the niche that I coach in, but really it's my own journey. So, back in college, back in the day, I had an eating disorder so I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist. And while I was going to school for nutrition and dietetics, this was, late 90s, early 2000s, I got my own eating disorder. And it was really a stress-based response. So, that's why I'm really passionate about helping women getting out of that striving and stressing, depriving and depleting and surviving, because that's how I felt in college. I just felt like I was always in survival mode. And one of the ways that I would cope with that was exercise. I love exercise. It's a way that I de-stress. But what happened for me is, like, I was exercising so much and I was, one of those 5 a.m. gym people. Uh, and I wouldn't eat enough during the day. And I lost a lot of weight, like, without even trying, really. Because, at that age, it's so easy to lose weight too.
Not
More
for me, it wasn't, but go on.
more so than when you get a little bit older anyway.
Fair enough.
Um, and I wasn't eating enough during the day because I lived off campus. It was just one of those things. Like, I just would go home really, really hungry. And what happened over time, like what happens when we're not feeding ourselves enough, and this can happen with dieting behaviors in general, when we're cutting calories, our survival mechanisms kick in psychologically, but also biologically, like in our lower brain. We basically gasp for food. Just like when you hold your breath underwater, you gasp for air. It's the same thing with food when you restrict it too much. And that leads to things like binging and just overeating, and also an increase in the likelihood of using food for emotional reasons, because it's that one thing that really comforts you when you're being deprived of it. And so for me, it was kind of an unintentional eating disorder, but it happened. And once I got in it, it just became habitual. I was exercise bulimic. So it was like I was binging and then showing up at the gym every day, or every morning, and basically purging. And then it became more emotional. Like, at first it was really just kind of a physiological response to not eating enough. But then over time it became very emotional and I got really wrapped up in it. And, so that's kind of what brought
Prompted
me here,
you.
even though I
Yeah.
don't work with women specifically who would be classified as like clinical eating disorders. I felt really passionate and called to help women in terms of that relationship with food, all the mental and emotional stuff that's wrapped up in it, not just nutrition.
So, how much can I blame my ancestors for my feelings about food? Because, like, when I was a kid, I remember I mean, I loved my grandpa. May he rest in peace. He was the greatest man ever. But he used to say, finish your food or you can't get up from the table. And I was very much brought up in that you got to finish all your food. There was nobody, they never talked about some like starving children in Africa or anything, but it was very much finish everything on your plate. And now, I mean, it's really hard for me not to.
Yeah, it becomes programmed into us, our relationships with food, depending on who our caregivers are, from those really important years, 0 to 7. That's where we start. Our subconscious learns all that, right? And so we start to just live that out for the rest of our life if we don't consciously choose to like shift that way of thinking or behaving. So yeah, and like you said, it can be ancestral where it's literally carried down for generations, especially because we tend to, I'm not a mom, but I just know that you tend to parent your children the way that you were parented, unless you consciously choose like, no, I'm not going to do that, right? Because
That's what
that's,
I've done.
yeah, that's what we were modeled, right? And so
Mhm.
if we don't consciously like choose to do it a different way, we're just going to do it how it's always been done.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it plays a lot. And then there's genetic things too, in terms of you know ways that our DNA is orchestrated that can be passed down through generations as well, that can play into every area of our life. It's not only environment, but after we're born, it can also start even as early as when the sperm and the egg first meet. and
Wow.
because there's these epigenetics is what they call it. It's like we have this genetic code that's created in that moment, and then certain genes can be turned on and off depending on the environment that we're then brought into.
Hmm.
So yeah, so ancestral, that was a fabulous question because it
Oh,
definitely plays into how you relate to
thank you.
food, especially that environmental component and what you're modeled and what you hear and see.
And yeah, and that's why I've been so super conscious with with my daughter, for example. She's gonna be 10 next week. And I have never told her to finish the food on her plate. I always say, eat until you're full. And it's a battle with, grandparents because they're like, oh no, you have to finish. And I say, no, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. She can eat what she wants. And when she's done, she's done. So I appreciate your thoughts on that. So
Yeah.
now let's talk about the book itself. Okay. So you've got this amazing book that's going to help men and women with but I guess specifically women at this point, with their any kind of emotional stress eating, overeating, undereating, overexercising, all those things. So, what was the book writing process like for you? Was it just kind of you sat there, you're like, oh, I do this every single day, and it just sort of like vomited out like you're just, there it is? Or
Yeah.
what was it like
So
for you?
yeah, I'm still actually in the process of writing because I did like the pre-launch on Amazon, and
Okay.
I really want to get it done at least before by the end of the year or by January. That's my intention that I originally set. So for me, I've always loved to write. I discovered in high school that I was naturally, especially when it comes to like nonfiction research based type writing, I naturally gravitate towards that. It just kind of comes to me. I like to research and that sort of thing. But this book, it's not just like a research book. It's really just my own personal experience in terms of not sharing my story so much as an autobiography, but more like I've gone through something and I've had to implement tools and basically self coach in so many ways. And now because I've coached myself, I can coach you too, kind of thing. So that's kind of the aim or direction of like in terms of how I'm writing it. But I love the writing process. That's why I chose to write a book because, even though I feel passionate about what I do, I've always known I've wanted to write. But, back in college, I had this feeling inside that I want to write articles, I want to write books because I enjoy that process. It's comes naturally for me. It's not that I never get stuck, but um yeah, I just love that process of creation. It's kind of, my art. I don't paint, and I don't play, or I don't create music. I play the piano, but it's what other people have already written. So I
Right.
feel
Yeah,
like
this is
writing.
your baby.
Yeah, I feel like writing is an art form
Mhm.
for me, even though it's nonfiction. It's not like poetry, but it's still an art because for me, my brain kind of like takes all this information and then I find the similarities in it, and then I synthesize it, and then I filter it through my own experience, and it lands.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, what do you hope to achieve with your book?
I just hope to reach people that they need it and it resonates with them. I think it's so. I just know from my own experience, when you're going through something, having uh hearing someone else's personal experience. So you feel like, oh, I'm not alone. But then there's also this other part of it about kind of what I just mentioned. My book's not going to be the only one out there on emotional eating, but I think we tend to find things that resonate with us. Like in my creation process, or anytime I'm learning something, I love to listen to multiple teachers, multiple points of view, multiple approaches. And then I kind of, because we each have our own perspectives, certain things land better, than others. We resonate with certain things more than.
Right, you don't want to appeal to everybody because then you appeal to nobody.
Yeah, so I'm just hoping that it meets an audience that it really lands with, and it helps people, and it also inspires me to write more because I really want to write more, and just because I feel like I come up with tons of ideas for books all the time. And so
Mhm.
this would be super fun to have it, be super helpful for people, but also be that first book to inspire me to write more.
Oh, I love that. So are you working with a book coach right now or an editor? What are you doing to help you along with the process?
Yeah, so I'm working with someone who taught me how to do that pre-launch on Amazon. She was a colleague that had done her own book, and she created this little coaching program to help other people self-publish in that way. And I had back in April, I had kind of decided, like, writing a book was always this someday out there thing. And back in April, I finally realized, like, well, I'm 44 now, and life is this and that, and like, are you ever going to write a book? I guess, now is the time to write a book. And then so she kind of just came into my life in that way, and so it just was one of those manifestations, I guess. And so I'm working with her, and I'll have to get an editor, at that point, but she's been the one to kind of hold my hand through the process and to prod me to keep writing. Yeah.
I get that. Yes, absolutely. That's what coaches do, right? They're there. I mean, you're a coach too, so you're there and you have to just keep pushing people along because they need your help and that's why they're paying you. It's because
Yeah.
they want you to help them along. So, do you have your plans for your marketing yet or are you still in the I'm writing this book, I can't even think about it stages?
Yeah, I would say the latter. I'm writing the book, and I'll think about it when yeah, it's kinda like I just wanna get the book written, but,
Yeah.
it's not that I don't,
Mhm.
like, think about it.
Mhm.
I definitely want to, market it as much as I possibly can.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you put in so much work, right? So
Right, and that's the thing, that's what I find with a lot of my clients is they're like, "Okay, I'm writing the book, so I can't think about marketing." Oh, but wait a second, I really need to think about marketing because if I start building up the audience now, when I launch the book, I'll have an audience already.
yeah,
And, that's really I think why the content marketing piece it gets forgotten sometimes because people just think about the launch. They're so focused. It's like blinders on. And, am I going to be an Amazon bestseller or am I going to sell whatever or sell X number of copies? So, yeah. So, but by doing this show, you're already doing some marketing.
yeah, exactly. I'm kind of one of those people that when opportunities, like, I saw you on Facebook, or I know you. I think you're in the Advanced Network, or
Yes,
so we connected somehow.
totally.
And I was like, and I saw you have this opportunity. I'm like, well, I better take advantage of that. That's kind of how I am. If I see something, I'll seize it,
Mhm.
because why not?
Absolutely. It's no, it's great. And let's give a shout out to the advance for a second while we can. So it's a networking group that we're in and it's virtual, 100% virtual. And what's really special about it is the whole thing is based on connections and referrals and lifting women up. And that's something that's very important to me. And I'm guessing it's important to you too.
Yeah, I love like just this kind of stuff. I love it. I love just talking to people and interacting. And, for a long time for me, I was doing Facebook ad strategy and kind of like hiding behind Facebook ads. And I hated it. I mean,
Mhm.
I did it for a while, but over time I realized how much I hate it. And I found out that I really am a connector. I really do love to talk to people. So
I
it's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so do we have an estimated date, or do you wanna just, tell us about the pre-launch so people can get information about?
Yeah, it's hard for me to say this date, but like I said earlier, the way life is kind of happening now, I initially wanted to have it done by the end of December. I'm gonna like say end of January because things happened. I lost my dog of 16 years and I
So
kind of went
sorry.
grieving for the whole month of October. So
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I can sympathize, and yeah, when I lost him, I wore black for a year.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been having to I'm finally starting to feel more like myself again. So I wasn't writing very much, let's put it that way.
No, I don't blame you, but he would want you to continue.
Yes, that's what I told myself, because it's so hard talking or having pets because we can't speak to them. But after he passed, I asked myself, his name was Harvey, and I was like, what would Harvey want? He'd be like, Mommy, just pour love into what you love, and I love to write. So that inspires me sometimes when I'm missing him. I'd be like, he'd want
Yeah.
me to show up and do the stuff that I love to do.
100%. That loyal companion, even if they're annoying sometimes, they're still always there.
Yes. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
special.
they are. Well, you can dedicate your book to him as
Yes, actually, because like I mentioned, I'm single, divorced, never had children, and just kind of in that place of my life where I'm just letting that be for now.
Mhm.
And I thought after he passed, that would be a perfect dedication. So,
Absolutely.
'cause
100%.
he was the love of my life for 16 years. He really was. He was with me through everything, kind of.
Oh, yeah. No, I love that, and yeah, as an animal lover, I totally get that. So, I'm sure there's some animal lovers out there in cyberspace that are they're, like, nodding at their phones right now going, "Yeah, I totally understand." So, you have a really awesome challenge that everybody can sign up for. So, would you like to tell us about that?
Yeah, are you referring my holiday? Yeah, so
Yeah.
stressless, guiltless holiday eating super success challenge. Once again for ambitious women who wanna not eat all the food over the holidays, especially, if you're a stress eater, and because the holidays, obviously, they have just more stress in general, but then there's the
And
extra.
there's 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, and the stress of the food. I mean, even
And in-laws.
yeah, there can be the like, if you're traveling, that's stressful, and then there's all the foods that normally we don't have available to us the other days of the year that, you know, everyone knows what.
Pie, all
Yes.
the pie. There's so much pie. Why? Why?
Yeah. And so it's an opportunity. It's going to be week by week, for from November 8th, so starting the week of next week, and then
Oh, perfect, yeah.
through December 17th ish. So basically, through Thanksgiving and right before Christmas, to just set people up for success so that they don't have to go through the holidays feeling unhealthy, feeling like they, out of control or overeating, which can happen so easily when there's just food around us constantly. Um, Super yummy food and be able to start January rather than go into January. Well, now I'm starting over and now I've gained 5, 10, 50, whatever amount of weight, and now I'm going to set this New Year's resolution and I'm going to lose it. Why don't we just go into January feeling amazing already? So that's kind of what it's about.
Yes, I love that. Oh, I totally okay, so how can people sign up for this challenge?
So they can go to findfreedomwithfood.com, which is my website, / holidays.
Okay, I'm gonna put that when I can go in, I'm gonna put that in there. And then also you have a course, a free course that you can tell us about too, which I signed up for.
Yeah, it's just a email course, really simple. You get an email. I think there's 7 or 8 emails for about a week that day by day take you through some teachings, and then within that there's also journaling exercises and reflections and things to really help you kind of get at the core. Like, if you have a stressful relationship with food, to get at the core of some of the thinking processes, belief systems that are at the root of what's going on in that relationship with food. Because in the work that I do with women, like I mentioned earlier, yes, I have nutrition credentials and all of that, and I'm supposedly the food and nutrition expert, with that credential. However, it's so much more than that. It's really about thoughts and beliefs that are driving everything. And what I do with women is all about inside out work. So that's what the email course is about. You have to be willing to look at the inside if you sign up for it.
Isn't it so interesting? You can have all the strategy in the world, but if you don't have the right mindset, it's nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's exactly what you're talking about. It's about getting the mind in order so that the body can then get in order too.
Yes. Yes. And
Right.
with the way that our culture is set up, there's diet culture. In January, we're going to be bombarded with it, and there's so much diet programming that is so counterproductive to us and actually harms us in so many ways. So I just wanted to say what you're doing with your daughter, teaching her how to listen to her body to eat, like living, or eating from the inside, living from the inside, in connection with her body like that. That is so, I'm applauding you. So important.
Cry. Thank you. I wish I could teach it to myself, but at least I stopped it at this generation.
Yeah, and you can. It's a skill that you can regain, even though you might feel like you lost it, and like you don't feel like you're connected to your body and or listening to it in that way. It's something that you can, with practice, regain.
Okay. Well, with your help, we can. Thank you so much, Rebecca. So, guys, Rebecca's book is going to be out early next year.
Yes,
We're holding
I
you to
will
it.
declare it early next year. Watch for
Early 2022. Look out for that. And in the meantime, you can go to her website, which I'm going to put the information, but it is findfreedomwithfood.com. And I'm going to put that in the comments when we are no longer live because I can't do it while we are live. So thank you so much for joining me today, Rebecca. I'm so glad we got a chance to talk about you and your fantastic work.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Melanie. I loved it.
Yay. All right. So, guys, thank you so much for watching today. Next week, we'll be back with another fantastic author for you to learn about all the amazing things that people are doing with their books and their authority marketing. I'm Melanie Hirschhorn, and I am so happy that you joined me today. If you watched live, go ahead and type in the comments. Let me know you were here. So, yay. And if you watched the replay, please put in the comments #replay so I know you came and you saw. And I hope you learned something awesome. So thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Have a great day.